Architect William McDonough is here. He is a leading figure in the field of ecologically sensitive architecture. His designs seek to marry environmental awareness with aesthetic appeal. In 1994, he was appointed Dean of the University of Virginia School of Architecture. I am pleased to have him on this broadcast to talk about some very interesting ideas in the world of architecture. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I just said to you as you sat down, I mean, with all that you have on your plate, why, since 1994, did you choose to serve as Dean of the School of Architecture? You have an architectural firm with some 19 or 20 members. You know, you got plenty to do. Why teach? Why serve as a dean?
Well, it's special that I'm at the University of Virginia because there are very few places in the world where you could say we have a tradition of revolution. And the University of Virginia, both architecturally but also culturally and politically and economically and so on, is a place where a revolution is evidenced, and a revolution in how we relate to each other and how we manifest ourselves in the physical world. So as an architect and as a person trying to manifest things in the world, there is no finer platform for that discussion. And it's time to teach because we're dealing with revolutionary issues.
It's time to teach because we're dealing with revolutionary issues. Meaning it's important to teach these issues, or it's important to be in a community where these issues are in dialogue and debate?
I'd say both. It's great to have a platform. Archimedes said, give me a lever and a place to stand and I can move the world. But everybody forgets the second part of the statement. They remember, give me a lever, and they forget you need a place to stand.
Yeah.
And so the University of Virginia is one of the great places to stand.
Yeah. Is there as much of this, I mean, Peter Eisenman and others, you know, have been part of this whole notion of great discussions and debates about the role of architecture, and Peter's sort of now doing a lot of architecture as well.
Right.
Are there great debates taking place today, in 1999, at the end of the millennium, about the role of architecture and revolutionary ideas as to what it ought to be doing?
Well, I think so, since I'm focused on these issues. I think
right.
I just co-wrote an article with Michael Braungart, a chemist from Germany, called The Next Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
It was in Atlantic Monthly last October. And we're looking at a revolution in design based on a new set of principles.
Now, what's that revolution?
It's
what
a
are
revolution.
Those principles?
In 1991, I was asked by the city of Hanover, Germany, to write something called the Hanover Principles, which are the design guidelines for the World's Fair for the new millennium, for the year 2000.
Right.
And they're looking at a way of asking designers and asking everyone to be a designer to understand the relationship between humanity, nature, and technology, in a fundamentally different way. And it embeds itself in our rethinking of how we design molecules and how we design regions. It's a fractal. It affects our design at every scale.
Right.
And it's a revolutionary way of looking at the world. And it's, in a sense, it's really a re-evolutionary way of looking at the world, because if we look at the planet as chemistry, rocks and water being affected by physics, the sun, and then we find this astonishing moment where biology occurs with this single photosynthetic cell,
right.
And then we realize that the Earth is this incredibly fecund place which develops more and more niches, more and more diversity, and then all of a sudden comes the first industrial revolution, where we reverse this at high speed and start designing fewer niches, designing for monoculture and so on and so forth. And we're destroying the natural systems at such a furious rate that it's time to reimagine design as a new evolutionary process that looks at designs that are actually fecund. Imagine that.
Now, the principles are what?
The principles are waste equals food, eliminate the concept of waste. This isn't minimize waste. Use current solar income, the way nature doesn't mortgage the future, it doesn't mind the past, it works from current income, and respect diversity and celebrate diversity, not one size fits all. If you go around the world today with blinders on, you wouldn't know whether you're in Hartford or Rangoon. And so the idea that we would actually not celebrate...
And they are very different.
And they're very different.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't even celebrate that diversity, or biodiversity, cultural diversity, and so on, is insane. And so as designers, we have these new principles, and we have new criteria. It used to be cost, performance, aesthetics. Can I afford it? Does it work? Do I like it?
Right.
Now we're asking, is it ecologically intelligent?
Right.
Is it just? And is it fun?
Yeah. So the driving force almost is some ecosystem balance and contribution.
Right. It's a way of looking at the world where you say, instead of current design, which is in a sense quite timeful in that everybody's in a hurry and they're trying to be current, but they're also mindless of their effects in the world. I mean, they just order wood. They don't care if it's clear-cut from British Columbia. And we're looking for timeless mindfulness. We're saying, let's design things that understand large-scale issues and are mindful of all sorts of agendas.
Let's look at some things that, and then this may or may not be appropriate, but at least it'll give us an example of some of the things that you have done.
Right.
All right, number one here, this is the Adam Joseph Lewis Center for Environmental Studies at Oberlin College. There it is.
Right.
I mean, what does this say to us, or what should it say to us?
Well, what it will say to the students is if you notice the roof is photovoltaic material, that will be producing more energy than the building needs to operate on an annual basis. If you look at the lobby of the auditorium on the lower right, it's a living machine designed by marine biologist John Todd. It's a greenhouse with tanks full of smaller and larger animals, microbes, plants, and so on, that purifies the water of the building. And so essentially we're asking a fundamentally new design question about technology, which is, what is high-tech? If you imagine, if I said, could you design something very sophisticated for me, imagine the most high-tech building in the world, and then imagine going out to a field, scraping away some dirt with your left hand, and with your right hand putting something in the ground that makes oxygen, sequesters carbon, fixes nitrogen, builds soil, distills water, produces habitat for hundreds of species, changes with the seasons, accrues solar energy as fuel,
is that a tree?
Food, and is delightful and self-replicates.
Yeah.
It's a tree. So how sophisticated are human designs?
Okay.
This building makes more energy than it needs to operate. Imagine a building like a tree. The idea is a regenerative design. Imagine whole communities where the buildings are actually accruing solar energy and purifying water.
It makes more energy than it needs to operate.
That's right. It gives back to the community more than it takes.
It's been proven to do that.
This is being designed.
This is not some idea, but but we'll know.
We will know.
Yeah. Is there a building anywhere in the world today that does that?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
You know, so the cutting edge is we say we can do this.
It will
we
be,
say we can. We know the principles to make it happen.
That's right. We're working with NASA on the roof.
Yeah.
The various parts of this have been articulated and have been in the marketplace. So this is not state of the art. This is state of the shelf.
All right. Number two is the 901 Cherry offices for the Gap Incorporated. Right. There you go. Exterior view.
The roof is grass.
Right.
We won the competition for this building against the largest firms in the country. We said, what if a bird flying overhead didn't think anything had changed? So we made the roof to be part of the original oak savanna of the Northern California
So what if a bird
coast.
Flying overhead didn't think anything had changed?
They would land
What difference
here.
would that make?
Well, they would land here and find food and habitat.
Right. Okay. So is that good or bad to have those birds there?
Well, how many? Do you want the songbirds to return, or
Yes,
do you
of
want
course
them all
I do.
to die? There we are.
All right.
So,
all right. Next picture.
This is the lobby.
Interior
the building
view.
is fully daylit. The building is built for the normal budget for an office building.
Yeah.
The building has raised floors to allow us to take nighttime cool air of the San Francisco region and turn the building into a giant thermal battery. It's like a hacienda. So we get free cooling all day long, and all the people who work there get 100% fresh air delivered to their breathing zone.
How do you do that?
Through the raised floors.
Huh?
We have raised floors.
Yeah.
Which everybody wants for computer convenience, for changing.
Right.
But we can actually put grills in the floor, which you can move to wherever you're sitting, and it delivers the fresh air directly to your breathing zone.
Oh, great. All right. That's very good.
And it's the, we were told by the utility, it's the most energy efficient building in their territory.
This building is in existence today?
It is.
It's working?
That's right.
Okay. And they're happy?
They're extremely happy.
All right.
They've moved human resources and recruiting into the building. That should give you a signal.
There you go. Number four, the Herman Miller SQA office and factory. This is an exterior panorama right there. Where is this located?
This is in Zeeland, Michigan.
Okay.
And it's a factory to make furniture.
They make chairs and things, right?
That's right. Herman Miller Company, known for design. This building is a fully daylit building where all the workers and the office workers meet on a street that's full of sun. The workers control the sun. This building won the first Business Week Design for Business Award as one of the most productive buildings for business in America.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was built for $49 a square foot.
This is what brought you to my attention.
This is productivity has been reported in this building such that the building is paying for itself in less than a year.
Productivity.
That's right.
Has so accelerated.
That's right.
That it's paying for itself.
That's right. I was told by the president of this company that with the same number of employees, productivity is up over 20%.
They're doubling their output.
20%.
Yeah, 20%.
20% on $250 million.
Yeah.
It's worth $50 million a year. Discount the equipment, it's worth $25 million.
It didn't cost that much.
It costs $15 million.
Yeah. So, but explain to me what you're doing that makes productivity up. What is it for an individual worker that enables him or her to build 20% more chairs than they did before they were in this building. What does this building do to them, make them feel, say to them?
It honors them with a delightful urbane place in a suburban environment, and it gives them sunshine, it gives them fresh air, and it gives them daylight. And we know the productivity is from the daylight because it came from the first 2 shifts.
So we can say...
We have proof.
Okay. Most of us, if our work environment had more sunshine, more connection to nature, chances are we'd be more productive.
And we'd be happier, yeah.
And happier, too.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's right.
And probably healthier.
That's right.
All right.
The Gap won the Business Week Award this year. We've won it twice in a row.
For the most what? Inhabitable something?
The most effective buildings for business in America.
All right. Next, there's an interior scene, the same building, all right?
That's the street.
That's the interior street.
Right, all the workers
We call it a street?
Well, we call it a street because it's a place where all the workers and the office workers come. They didn't call it the same coffee. They have an urbane experience. It's a place full of sun and daylight.
All right.
This is during construction.
Next slide.
That's the factory floor. You can see the
It
roof.
looks like any other factory floor
Except
to me.
what it'll look like, you see these big 30-foot squares? The ceiling has been lifted up, and there's daylight every 30 feet, so you feel like you're in a forest. There's light, there's daylight everywhere pouring in as you work there. When we were hired, the president of the company said if my building was a car, it wouldn't be a Mercedes with tinted windows. It would be a Ford Mustang, 1965 convertible, probably pink. And if it was clothing, it wouldn't be a Brooks Brothers button-down suit. It would be an Aloha shirt. And we said, well, that doesn't sound like Michigan. Let's build California. Yeah. So these people wear Aloha shirts, they listen to the Beach Boys, and they make furniture. Productivity is up. Go figure.
Well, next slide. We're just giving you some examples here, America. This is a fabric sample from the William McDonough collection 2 by Design Tech. So what's so great about this fabric?
This is meeting our new industrial protocols for the next industrial revolution. What we're saying here is that waste equals food. This is a fabric that was designed out of wool and ramie, which are natural materials. But one of the critical points here is we looked at this idea of safe products and realized when we got to the mill that the trimmings of their bolts of cloth had just been declared hazardous waste. And so you realize that when the trimming of your cloth is hazardous waste, but you can sell what's in the middle, you've reached the wall of the first industrial revolution. So we've redesigned these fabrics, working with the chemical industry, in this case Ciba Geigy out of Basel, Switzerland. Yeah. And we said the filters of the future will be in our heads, not on the ends of pipes. And the filters are no mutagens, no genetic mutations, no cancer, no carcinogens, no heavy metals, persistent toxins, bioaccumulatives, and so on. And we analyzed all the chemicals. Out of 8,000 chemicals, we selected 38. And when the Swiss inspectors came to inspect this product, which is perfectly designed for its utility, fire retardancy, and so on, the water coming out of the factory was as clean as the water going in, which is Swiss drinking water. And what you realize is that regulations are signals of design failure, because they say we're trying to kill each other, and so the state has to step in and say, we reserve the right to kill. We'll go to war if we need to. Why are you trying to kill children downstream?
Well, you're not so hot on recycling either, are you?
Actually, in many cases, I'm not hot on recycling because it's not recycling, it's downcycling. Yeah. Materials are losing their quality on their way to a landfill. It's still cradle to grave. We're talking here about cradle to cradle.
Okay. All right, one more time, let's take a look at this. Is the Nike European headquarters in the Netherlands. Right. Take a look at this.
This building, this complex of buildings.
Why they settled in the Netherlands?
This is a complex in the center of Europe where they have existing offices. The real estate developers here brought us in to compete with a Dutch firm and an English firm, and we won the competition. And part of it was to say that we couldn't design. We refused to work for free. We had pointed out that slavery has been abolished with the 13th Amendment in the United States. And we said, well, let's actually find out about the site and the culture. And we also said we couldn't design buildings without interviewing the clients. So we've designed a community that's designed of office buildings designed to be converted to housing in the future. It's set to receive fuel cells, grass roofs, photovoltaics, and the idea is to have long-term utility and provide fundamental value to that place in the world for a very long time.
I have a great idea for you. This is a business idea. You don't take a fee for your next client.
Right.
And you take some commission based on increased productivity.
I'd love that.
You know?
I'd love that.
And you say, look, guarantee you we can deliver on our promise. Just give us a percentage of productivity.
It would be a wonderful thing. It's a very hard thing. It's very easy to prove it in the industrial sector.
Right.
very hard to prove in the commercial sector because there's so many factors that are involved.
I've got you. All right, the Environmental Defense Fund offices, this is, there you go.
This is
but I didn't get this. I saw this in the newspaper.
Well, the reason this is, I think, is considered important is simply it was the first of the green offices in New York. It was 1984, 85, and it's the first time we really started to ask questions about the materials, what's off-gassing from the glows, and so on. We also designed it so you feel like you're outdoors.
Right.
Every office feels like it's an outdoor building.
Right.
Every assistant has a street lamp and a tree. We developed color temperatures to make people look fabulous all day long so that whenever you see somebody, you go, boy, you look great, Charlie. You know, it changes your day. You know, instead of you look like you're, you
look tired, what's wrong with you, you didn't get to sleep or something. Now you say you look great because the color
temperature brings out the color of your blood in your face.
Here we go with the Heinz Family Foundation offices. This is the, what do we see here?
These are offices for the...
Is it in Pittsburgh or where is it?
In Pittsburgh, Teresa Heinz at the top floor of a skyscraper.
Oh, this is Teresa Heinz' office?
This is Teresa Heinz' office.
Yeah.
And these are for her people. And every office feels like a little house on a street. Everything is daylit. And we have fresh air being delivered to every individual in their breathing zone. And the important part of that is Mrs. Heinz here sponsored the first sort of large use of tropical woods from sustainable forestry from Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Peru, Ecuador, and the United States, where wood is harvested by local peoples in ways that perpetuates the life of a forest with full diversity.
Okay. Is there any possibility that you may be marginalized as some green architect? I mean, here comes McDonough, you know, he's one of those.
Well, I think that's certainly been
attempted.
It's certainly, it's actually quite common. And I think one of the reasons that we have not become consultants in this is that we see this as a fundamental platform of quality design. How sophisticated and beautiful is a building if it's killing you, for example? And so this kind of timeful mindlessness we feel is an aesthetic issue and a quality issue at this point.
Here's the other issue, and I think you may have answered this, but the University of Virginia is one of the great examples of American architecture.
Right.
The University of Virginia, whatever they call that thing there.
The lawn.
The lawn. Tradition, tradition, tradition. Jefferson, reached back into every idea he could find to put that together. Right. He was clearly a student of European architecture.
That's right.
Right. You were coming along as a revolutionary in terms of the way we think about habitable spaces and work spaces. Is the connection, you say, revolutionary to revolutionary, i.e. Jefferson was a revolutionary, or something else?
I think it's connected to revolutionary. I think he was an incredible experimenter. And if you look at Monticello, it's a passive solar house. There's no question about it. The solarium heated his study. His bed, his north dining room was the first double glazed room that I've ever seen. I mean, he was astonishingly clever and connected to investigating constantly.
Take advantage of what's free.
And what's free and what's right there. Yeah. And then connect it to culture across time. So it's exactly the same agenda.
Where are we? Are we at the embryonic stage of where you think this industrial revolution is going? We're taking baby steps here.
Well, but it's about to explode. We are now working in the design front. I have two firms. I also have an industrial systems company designing products. And we've developed a protocol where we see very simply that things are what we call nutrients. If waste equals food, everything's a nutrient. And what are the metabolisms of the world? Well, there's the biological metabolism, of which we're a part, and then there's the technical metabolism, which is the metabolism of industry. And what we've realized is that we're at an astonishing moment to design things either go back to soil safely, like that fabric, and rebuild our soils, or back to industry forever, and to be used for constant human purpose. And what we call a technical nutrient, or a product of service. And we realize that we can start to design these technical nutrients instead of being downcycled into a park bench on our way to landfill, that we can actually say if waste equals food. Charlie, if I take a TV and hit it under the table and I said, I have an object here that provides amazing service, but before I tell you what it does, let me tell you what it is, and you tell me if you want this in your house. It's 4,000 chemicals. It contains highly toxic heavy metals. It has an explosive glass tube, and we think you ought to put it at eye level with your children and encourage them to play with it. Do you want this in your house? Why are we selling people hazardous waste? So really, if waste equals food, whose food is this? It's the food of the electronics industry. These things, cars, carpets, so on and so forth, can all be designed to go back to the industries from whence they came, to become carpets again forever. And we're doing this now.
Okay, but you lost me. What happened? Well, so I assume I say no about that instrument. Right. I mean, are you saying we should say no to television?
No, what I'm saying is you should celebrate the fact that you have this incredible service.
Right.
But the object itself is simply an artifice that you would just as soon return to the manufacturers and have new ones that are safe. So wouldn't it be wonderful? You take it back, basically de-shop it, and then get it, and then say, I want a new one, please. And the largest carpet company in the world, commercial carpet, has adopted our product of service idea, and it effectively says, let's lease these products so we can take them back. And now we're working with industries around the world to develop how to integrate this protocol into their production.
Is Europe ahead of the United States in this, or are we far ahead of them? And where is Asia, and where is Latin America, and where is Africa, and how do you see
Europe is quite far ahead. In fact, it's sort of funny because I got a lot of grief from the Europeans for having created that fabric first, and they're really angry that this sort of next flag of the next industrial revolution was created by an American in Europe, which is sort of funny. The Japanese are very focused on this now because they're starting to see the effects of dangerous molecules in their culture, and they're becoming evident. And we have the mercury poisoning, which sort of sensitized them to these issues. But I'd say that it's about to explode all over the place. Everybody's starting to realize how critical this is, and what a delightful business opportunity it is.
And so before we leave, I mean, I had a thing here about this is sort of your philosophy. Many definitions of sustainability debated around the world may represent only the delicate line between degradation and enhancement. Because of this, the concept as presently perceived may be somewhat impoverished.
Right.
Our precept imagines that we should be able to enjoy far brighter prospects than mere maintenance. This is therefore not an efficiency agenda. It does not ask us to imagine we are presently guilty of waste which we must reduce in order to feel better. Instead, it asks us to imagine a world full of hope and promise, to measure our positive progress and celebrate the fecundity of our creative imaginations. As designers, signaling our intentions in the world perceived to be reaching its critical limits, we're asking not how few songbirds we will leave in the world for our children to enjoy, but how many. Well said. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
William McDonough, University of Virginia School of Architecture, revolutionary new ideas about design, about the Industrial Revolution, and about how we get there from here. Back in a moment. Stay with us.